I'm Veronica Macias, and this is The Minute. Two high school students in Santa Rosa are dead. Two others hospitalized, likely due to fentanyl. Police say a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old were found dead inside a home on Brookwood Drive Saturday night. Two girls, 14 and 16, are hospitalized from an earlier incident. A 21-year-old suspected drug dealer now in custody. Police in Hillsborough are still searching for the person who shot a police officer. It happened Saturday at the police department's parking lot. Officers fired back, but it's unclear if they were hit. The officer is recovering. A housing authority officer was shot in East Oakland. It happened just after midnight on 85th and G Street. Police say the suspect opened fire at a traffic enforcement stop. The officer fired back. Both the officer and the suspect are in stable condition. The Bay Area's only primetime newscast at 8 and 9 p.m. on Pix Plus 44, Cable 12.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Parents, neighbors, and faculty members of an Oakland charter school, they're pleading with the city to remove a homeless encampment that's blocking the school's emergency exit. A small encampment is located on the dead-end street near the intersection of San Leandro Street and 38th Avenue. Dahlin checked it out for himself.
The city says this is one of many encampments in Oakland. It's actually kind of small compared to some of the larger encampments that stretch for a few blocks. But parents say this small encampment is causing big safety problems. Ascend Charter School serves roughly 500 students from TK to 8th grade.
It's gonna make a difference.
Perla Benitez has 3 children in Ascend. While she loves the school, she worries about their safety.
We want that area secure and open for in case there is an emergency.
Perla is talking about the encampment next to the school's emergency exit. On Sunday, we saw a trailer with a handful of cars and people living in them. Parents shared photos of cars blocking the gates. They point to a 2-alarm fire from a week ago near the school that badly damaged a vacant building. Neighbors say some homeless people were living there before the fire.
They have seen people use needles right there. They have seen people fighting, like couples fighting.
The emergency gate is also what separates the encampment from the school's outdoor gardening class. Fatima Amaya says she had a hard time explaining to her son when the first grader asked about drug use.
My son's like, why do people poke themselves? And I'm like, what do you mean poke themselves? Like, well, yeah, they use like poking stuff for like their arms, and like he's so specific about it, but yet he doesn't know what it is, but he's triggered by it, and that scares me as a parent. Him saying that a man was hitting a woman.
One school official also shared this photo of a person reportedly from the encampment climbing over the fence to steal things from the school. Parents also accuse some people of using the encampment as a chop shop and leaving the abandoned cars in front of the emergency exit.
They're stolen, they bring them here, and then they start ripping them apart, selling parts, or they use it as a storage for their drugs, and people come and buy their drugs from there.
Neighbors and parents for months have emailed and requested the city to remove the encampment. The CHP and Oakland police have made contact with the encampment residents multiple times, but they remain at the site.
It's saddening, it's disheartening. I sometimes want to give up and just, switch cities, but I love Oakland.
I love our school. I love our community. It's a great school.
And their kids love the school.
Keep my school safe.
I asked the interim mayor and the acting public works director about the problem.
Our team has been clearing encampments in a humane way and offering housing as well.
It's a high volume of encampments that have to be dealt with, and you look at the encampment plan, and schools are certainly high-risk areas, and there's only so much capacity this team has, and we have one team doing it.
City officials say the encampment management team is aware of the issue and ask for patience. But parents like Perla say it's an urgent issue and they're done waiting.
I just want my kids and all the children here at Ascend to feel safe. They see this toxic environment that I understand we're in Oakland, but that shouldn't be a norm.
The city passed a law about 5 years ago banning encampments from setting up next to schools, but the city says they don't have the resources to enforce it. So no timeline as to when they can resolve this problem.
You feel for those parents. Grief counselors are on campuses in Santa Rosa today after 4 high schoolers apparently overdosed on fentanyl, and 2 of them died. Police tell us a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old were found dead inside a home on Brookwood Drive Saturday night. A similar overdose put a 14 and a 16-year-old girl in the hospital earlier on Saturday. Detectives say in both cases, the victims thought they bought cocaine and didn't know they were taking fentanyl. Police have arrested a man suspected of selling the drugs to the teens who died. The superintendent of Santa Rosa City Schools sent a letter to families saying their hearts are broken by the loss of these young lives and they must unite to support one another during this time of shared grief. Police in Hillsborough are still searching for a shooter who opened fire on a police officer over the weekend. This all began when someone entered the parking lot of the police department at about 4 p.m. on Saturday. Police say that one person shot and wounded the officer. Then that officer fired back at the suspect, who then ran off. It's unclear if that suspect was hit, though. Police believe the shooting was targeted. We heard from neighbors who say this is a normally quiet area.
I saw cops running.
Police say they talked to a person of interest already. That was yesterday in South San Francisco. As of right now, that suspect is still at large. Thousands of federal employees have until tonight to list 5 things that they have accomplished in their work week, or else they could be out of a job. That's according to President Trump's special assistant, Elon Musk. Now, an email went out to millions of federal workers after President Trump urged Musk to get more aggressive as he works to fire thousands of government employees. Musk, who oversees the White House's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, posted on X that failure to respond will be taken as a resignation. A few agencies urge workers to comply with that email, but several of them have told their employees to pause on responding, and that includes the FBI and the State Department. Today marks 3 years since Russia launched its full-scale invasion on Ukraine. Thousands of civilians have been killed and many more soldiers on both sides are part of that death toll. Today, leaders from Europe and Canada visited Ukraine's capital as part of their show of support for the country. Meantime, President Trump is at the White House meeting with his French counterpart, Emmanuel Macron, to talk about ending the war. While people rallied in front of San Francisco's Ferry Building over the weekend to recognize the 3-year mark of the war, and our John Ramos was there.
It's seen so many people together here. It's so much relief, that we continue our fight.
Hundreds of supporters gathered on San Francisco's Embarcadero for a rally and march to commemorate the 3-year anniversary of the war. With support from the United States, Ukraine has held out against a vastly larger Russian military force, but now there is doubt whether the Trump administration will continue that support.
People are confused, Ukrainians are confused, but of course we hope that America and Americans will stand up with Ukraine and will stay united with Ukraine against the aggressor, which is, of course, Russia. And that has to be reiterated once again today.
They feel it has to be reiterated because of comments from President Trump himself seeming to accuse Ukraine of starting the war.
You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal.
And now we feel like, oh my God, after all this, we face this betrayal. This statement from President of the United States, it's scary. It's really scary now.
But it's not just scary for the people in Ukraine. Volodymyr Shostakovich lives in Corte Madera. He began fleeing Ukraine the day after the attack began and said the journey to save his family was harrowing.
You even can't imagine how hard it was, how stressed it was, like huge amount of stress, fear. The worst day of my life, like the start of the war. It's like it's not only the worst day of my life. It's just the worst day in all Ukrainians' life, probably.
Volodymyr found work as a graphic designer and says he isn't asking for any handouts.
Basically, all we need is just permission to work. We don't ask any benefits. We don't ask any insurance. We can achieve everything what we want just allow us to work.
His family is here under a refugee visa called a temporary protective status. President Biden recently extended that status for another 18 months, but the Trump administration has put a pause on that, and Volodymyr now wonders if he will soon be considered an illegal immigrant subject to deportation back to Ukraine.
We are here to find finally peace and safe. And like, I don't know, for my kids, it is their home. I don't know how to describe. This is true. I can't imagine that just because of what somebody can cancel my life. Just cancel it.
A lot of people feel the lives they've known are at risk, and it only takes a few words to make them wonder who may still have their backs.
Ukrainian President Zelensky said he would be willing to step down from the presidency if Ukraine is granted entry to NATO. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, where did the money go? That's the question as Oakland deals with its budget crisis, how a whistleblower helped uncover a $1 million mistake.
It's kind of sad because the fact that, this city's been going through so much and it's been taking hit after hit after hit.
Plus, they may have been built illegally, but now this East Bay City is asking their owners to come forward how an ADU amnesty could help the Bay Area's housing crisis.
It broke my heart to go to places like Bolinas and West Marin and force a homeowner who needed that income stream to evict a tenant.
The local farms scrambling to keep up with the demand of eggs. We all are. We're going to introduce you to a North Bay teen who's raising her own chickens to deal with that shortage. An overnight parking program in Palo Alto has been so helpful to homeless residents there. They're now looking to expand. The safe parking zone is on Gang Road. 80% of people who are homeless, according to the city, live in their cars. And the site was designated as safe parking back in 2020. There's even a place to do your laundry, a library. People we talked to say this place gives them some peace of mind.
I thank God because it's something keep it going.
Now the nonprofit says that it manages this site. It's drafting a new concept to expand safe parking sites. The mission is to transform a safe parking zone into something similar to a neighborhood where people can stay around the clock. Last year, Palo Alto City Council backed an expansion that would allow the Gang Road parking site to house 22 RVs in total. That's 10 more than it houses today. Cities across the Bay Area are trying to find ways to build more affordable housing for people. As Kenny Choi shows us, in Berkeley, they found a way to take advantage of units that are already there. They were built illegally, though.
Here's your house on your lot.
Denise Pinkston has been brainstorming on paper and in her mind more ways to create affordable housing since she realized state laws for decades made it nearly impossible to build accessory dwelling units.
There was hardly any zoning where you could have an ADU. As a result, no one could get a building permit.
Early in her career, Pinkston worked in local government planning for Marin County, enforcing building codes.
It broke my heart to go to places like Bolinas and West Marin and force a homeowner who needed that income stream to evict a tenant.
Pinkston left her role and co-founded Casita Coalition, a nonprofit that led the charge to change state laws in 2017, making it easier for homeowners to build ADUs. While permitting ease, there are still tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of unpermitted dwellings and homes across the Bay Area, according to housing experts. City officials in Berkeley are hoping to remedy that by offering an amnesty program for homeowners with illegal ADUs.
By creating a pathway that makes it easier and more affordable to get that unit rented, we could potentially be adding a number of housing units to the rental market.
Jordan Klein is Director of Planning and Development for the City of Berkeley. He says the program would bring more cost-effective rental units to Berkeley's high-cost housing market in a safe manner.
It's important that we make sure that every housing unit is safe and habitable.
In a housing crisis that is epic and decades old, this is a small, incremental, easy step that allows people to do what they're doing anyway, but do it safely and legally.
The 4-year program assures homeowners the process will be confidential and no penalties will be assessed on the previously undocumented apartments.
When our laws say all those illegal ADUs you have are illegal and you're a bad homeowner if you continue to keep your tenant, it's up time to update that.
For Pinkston, it's the kind of work that is now much more than a sketch, an idea to address California's housing crisis.
Berkeley officials say to qualify, the unit must have been built or converted before 2020. And they also add the city is uncertain how many unpermitted ADUs actually exist, but they say it could be in the thousands. Still ahead, the price of eggs soaring, and that's music to the ears of one business owner.
The phone definitely has been ringing quite a bit just in the last 1 to 2 weeks.
Meet a North Bay teenager who's raising her own chickens and making good business out of it. To do, you might need to look for those egg alternatives right now. The U.S. egg supply is still taking hits because of the bird flu. Even if you can find those eggs on the shelves right now, you're likely going to be paying a lot of money for them. But here in the Bay Area, some people are turning directly to the source by raising their own chickens. Our Suji Nam shows us how chickens are the new trend, at least in Mill Valley.
Got some cleaners.
It's a busy time of the year for Leslie Citron, the owner of Mill Valley Chickens. She always sees more egg production during the springtime. But with the bird flu causing egg shortages and soaring prices at grocery stores.
The phone definitely has been ringing quite a bit just in the last 1 to 2 weeks.
Ringing because more neighbors are interested in buying chickens, a specific breed of chickens.
They're asking for the production chickens just because a production chicken might give you 6 eggs per week, while one of these heritage chickens, like this little tiny chicken, this little yellow one who's from Sumatra, you're lucky to get 1 egg from her out of the week.
According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average price for a dozen of eggs hit a record last month, $4.95, compared to December of last year, averaging at about $4.15 per dozen. In California, a dozen eggs cost nearly $9 in January due to a number of factors, including higher production costs. That has some Bay Area residents considering this alternative option of caring for their own chickens to lay healthy eggs.
Watch this.
But Leslie advises with predators like coyotes and bobcats, it's important for first-time owners to have proper measures in place.
You do have to have a very secure chicken coop and a chicken run for the chickens.
A few miles away in Ross, Ryder Rubenstein is doing just that.
It'll be different times of the day. We might get 3. It's kind of unpredictable, so it's kind of like almost a slot machine.
He bought his chickens from Leslie a few weeks ago, built a chicken run to start his own egg subscription business, Golden Eye Eggs.
By our whole model being based on extra space for the chickens, as I said, 15x more space than even pasture raised, which is the highest standard you can get in the stores. We just think that we're doing it the most ethical way possible.
Okay, go ahead, eat the shrimp. And after seeing the impact of the bird flu on eggs nationwide,
this is 18 of our eggs.
Ryder aims to be a sustainable local source for eggs. And back here at Mill Valley, Leslie says for those who cannot buy their own chickens to lay eggs, they can still keep sustainability in mind by paying attention to the labels on the carton.
Free range could be like my deck right here in a factory farm. You might have 1,000 birds on here, if you can imagine that. And all they have to do is have a little tiny door going to the outside, maybe the size of a shoebox. And that is called free range. So it's really a meaningless term. The term that you want to look at now is pasture raised.
Some obedient chickens. On Friday, the U.S. Department of Agriculture issued conditional approval for a vaccine to protect chickens from the bird flu. Coming up in our next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area, in the midst of a major budget crisis, Oakland leaders learned the city overpaid some workers to the tune of nearly $2 million. And a World War II veteran in the Bay Area marks his 100th birthday and has a message about racial prejudice. An anonymous whistleblower in Oakland has revealed another case of financial mismanagement amid drastic cutbacks in city services. An investigation found the city has been overpaying some of their workers for 6 years. And as Dahl Lind reports, the auditor who found the waste believes it just might be the tip of the iceberg.
Some say this is more than an example of government waste. They say this is another hit on the city's credibility, and taxpayers want the city to fix this problem fast. This lifelong Oakland resident says his city is going through one of the worst periods in decades, from the recall of the mayor to the lack of basic services.
I just dropped off my car just a few moments ago because I hit a pothole and knocked the car out of alignment.
Dion Baker says as the city lays off workers, slashes public safety spending, and browns out fire stations, it's hard to hear about years of wasteful government spending.
A bit of frustration and a bit of sadness, because stress for leadership in general, I'd say, has been a little bit low.
The city auditor, Michael Houston, reports the city has been overpaying employees in the transportation and public works departments for overtime work for at least 6 years, from 2018 to 2024. The auditor says the overpayments to about 500 workers added up to more than $1.6 million.
We have budgetary issues, and any waste is a challenge for us as we are trying to get our budget together.
Oakland is dealing with a $129 million budget deficit. Interim Oakland Mayor Kevin Jenkins says this type of waste erodes public trust.
What I'm going to do is have a talk with the auditor and see what the best course of action moving forward.
The auditor launched the investigation after a whistleblower made the overpayment complaint. It appears the payroll department used the incorrect overtime formulas to pay workers. The auditor says the finance and payroll people could not explain how it happened. Josh Rowan is the acting Oakland Public Works Director.
I don't know if we can recoup the money or not, but I think the bigger issue is the perception damage. It's another opportunity where we've kind of stumbled.
The auditor only looked into the public works and transportation departments. He suspects investigators may find similar issues if they look into other departments. Baker says they should dig deeper.
Maybe we need to audit a lot more stuff. I mean, the pandemic caused a lot of households to audit themselves. So I think it's time that the government do the same thing.
The auditor recommends the city to fix its overtime payment formulas. The interim mayor says they'll come up with a plan once he and other city leaders meet with the auditor.
Some potential good news on Oakland's budget. City Council says it has found an extra $8 million, which wasn't previously available. That includes $2.6 million from the Oakland Coliseum as a result of higher ticket sales. 6th and Mission Street in San Francisco has long been known as a hotbed for illegal activity out there. Clearing the area out here was a key issue for Mayor Daniel Lurie when he took office, and so far at least the increased police presence, it appears to be working, but it could also be firing back. That's because some business owners in the Mission say the effort pushed more of the bad behavior into their neighborhoods.
We do have people on our stoop in the morning when I come out, and they are openly using, and it's a problem for us because it's like you want to be compassionate, but at the same time it's like I've got a business to run.
I was picking up trash at the BART Plaza, and I picked up the kind of trash that you would pick up at someone's home. Food, excrement, clothes.
The business owners that we talked to say that the issue on their streets, it's bad around the clock. People are doing and dealing drugs in the middle of the day, but things get especially bad after the sun goes down. Mayor Lurie says that he's heard the concerns and isn't satisfied moving the problem just from one place to another.
I have the same concerns. I go to 16th and Mission, Julian, Wheezy, Alley. I've been going there often with the supervisor, on my own. We're going to be relentless.
Mayor Lurie promised to arrest and prosecute anyone caught dealing drugs in the area. Today, Pope Francis remains in critical condition today, but the Vatican says that he is showing slight improvement in lab tests and is getting back to work. The Vatican says he remains alert and responsive as the 88-year-old pontiff is battling pneumonia in both lungs. He continues to get high flow oxygen through tubes in his nose and blood transfusions. Doctors say he is a fragile patient given his age and pre-existing lung disease, and that treatment here is complex. Meanwhile, the Archdiocese of San Francisco releasing a statement saying in part they are praying with the world for Pope Francis, and parishes across the Archdiocese will continue to pray for his health and his strength. It's been more than 80 years since the U.S. entered World War II, and one of the more than 16 million Americans who served, only about 66,000, they're still alive today, and that includes one man from Oakland. John Ramos shows us how the community came together recently to celebrate his 100th birthday.
In talking about World War II, we usually focus on those who showed uncommon heroism or fought in pivotal battles. But everyone had a part to play in the war. Floyd Payne did his, and now at age 100, he's remembering what it was like to be a black soldier in the U.S. Army.
And thank you for him, Mr. Floyd Payne.
5 generations of family and friends gathered in Oakland to mark the centennial milestone of Floyd Payne Sr. His daughter Sharon says it's nice to be able to celebrate loved ones while they're still among us.
You know, it's good to have a family reunion, because that's what this is, besides somebody dying and us getting together. But my mother treated my father's birthday like it was a holiday, which it was. It used to be George Washington's birthday.
Floyd was born in 1925, so he was 16 when Pearl Harbor was attacked and the nation went to war. At 18, he entered the Army and was shipped off to the Aleutian Islands in Alaska, where captured Japanese soldiers were being held. He drove a truck for most of the war, something Floyd didn't mind a bit.
I never shot at anybody. Nobody shot at me. I didn't go to no battlefield or any of that, no.
Are you pretty happy that that's what happened?
Ooh, I'm glad that's what happened. Yes, indeed.
But that doesn't mean he was never under attack. Like all African-American soldiers, Floyd says there were a lot of places he wasn't welcome, and whatever his unit did was always supervised by a white officer. That was the distrust the country showed to its black soldiers.
They would always have a white guy over the black soldiers. He was a soldier too, but they didn't trust black people to run the warehouse. Should have given the black man the same choice that they give the other one. You know, if they made a white sergeant somewhere, I feel like they ought to have been made a black soldier, a sergeant too or something, you know what I mean?
Floyd grew up in Louisiana, so to him it was just a fact of life. Later he moved to California, worked for years at the Mare Island shipyards, married the love of his life, Letha May, and raised a big family. Now, except for a sore back, Floyd says he feels pretty good to reach 100. But he admits that he's concerned about where the country is going.
Some things is better and some's gone backwards to me. What happened yesterday, they don't seem to remember today, and so they'll go right back into the same thing and that was in you. You were just in that trouble. What the hell you go back for, you know? So, but
does it feel like that's what's happening in the country right now?
So I think so. I think there's a lot of prejudice going on. I think a lot of people still don't trust black folks.
Floyd never stormed a beach or faced enemy fire, but that doesn't mean he's afraid of a fight. In fact, he's involved in one to this day. You see, the Army neglected to pay him everything he was owed, and his grandson, Darrell Smith, says the mild-mannered truck driver hasn't forgotten about it.
He still has a bucket list, let's just say that.
He wants to get paid?
Yeah, he's still on his bucket list. Yes, he wants his compensation.
On Friday, Floyd and his grandson, they went to the local VA office to fill out the forms to reclaim his back pay. He's determined. Coming up, we're going to meet an artist bringing his Bay Area roots to an international audience. And the new Giants general manager has a unique connection to San Francisco's rivalry with the Dodgers.